Hello, my name is Marilyn Gill, and my partner on this assignment was Dave Bodo, and today we will be talking about emotions with a focus on emotional intelligence and better ways that you can increase your emotional intelligence. Daniel Goleman coined the term emotional intelligence to describe the ability to understand and manage one's emotions and to be sensitive to others' feelings. So the following slides are going to give you tips on how to manage your emotions and be sensitive to others' feelings. First off, to have a strong emotional intelligence, you have to recognize the physiological changes that occur when you experience strong emotional events. For example, think of when you were little and you had your first kiss or your first crush. You might have felt warm, you might have been blushing, like I put in the picture example right here. Your body feels when you're not feeling your best mentally in the form of things like fatigue, hunger. When you're depressed, you decide to be in bed all day, you don't eat. Your body feels the things that your mind feels. Reappraisal and social expression. So reappraisal involves basically rethinking of a strong emotional event that has happened to you or affected you and trying to assess it and analyze it differently. For example, when a couple has an argument, it's okay to step back and acknowledge your emotions and figure out how you're feeling and assess the problems at hand in a different way. And there are also a lot of influences on social expression of your emotions, including culture, gender, mediated communication, etc. For example, in the United States, there are a lot of unwritten rules in society about how your emotions should be expressed, especially based on if you're a man or a woman. Sometimes men are expected to not show emotion as much as women are. It's more common for women to be better at recognizing emotions in other people, especially based off of facial cues, and it's also common for men to show signs of alexithymia, which basically means that they have trouble assessing their emotions, identifying how they feel, and communicating it to others. And to express your emotions effectively, you first have to recognize your feelings. Some people are more aware of their emotional states than others, and those people are termed affectively oriented, and they use their emotional awareness to make better decisions for themselves. Those who have a low affective orientation don't have as much awareness of their emotions, and they can make bad decisions based off of that because they might feel worthless. And the second part to express emotions effectively is to choose the best language. Vocabulary matters, and a lot of us don't have a good sense of emotional vocabulary, which means we can't express our emotions and describe them accurately if we don't know the words. The third thing is to share multiple feelings. Often we communicate the emotion that we're feeling the most, and that's the most negative, like you might feel very angry, but you might also be confused, and it's common for us to not express that confusion as well. Personal examples about this, I feel like my boyfriend shows signs of alexithymia because he does have trouble communicating his emotions and identifying how he feels, and when I notice he feels bad, it's hard to get a conversation out of him, but it's something that he's working on and that we all should work on. But I feel like I'm pretty smart and emotionally intelligent, but there's things that I should work on, like I said before, explaining all the emotions that I'm feeling instead of just focusing on the most negative one. But yeah, that's about it for me. Now Dave is going to take
So my
over.
personal example with regards to this chapter and the topic of emotions, I can't really self-diagnose myself with alexithymia, but in some cases, for example, in my relationship, I do struggle with expressing and showing how I feel sometimes to my girlfriend, and it's something I have always struggled with, and I've been working on it little by little so it would better for myself and for my relationship. Um, yeah, that's my personal example. For the Scholarly Journal, we chose Emotional Intelligence by Peter Salovey and John B. Mayer. This article, the two, they talked about the different qualities of emotion. They examined the place of emotion in traditional intelligence conceptions, and they reviewed the components of emotional intelligence, and they defined emotions as organized responses crossing the boundary of many psychological subsystems, including the physiological, cognitive, motivational, and experiential systems. They defined emotional intelligence as a subset of social intelligence, and that involves the ability to monitor one's own and others' feelings and emotions. And they use this information to guide one's thinking and their actions. And they also argue that there's a set of conceptually related mental processes. And these concepts include appraising and expressing emotions in the self and others, regulating emotion in the self and others, and using emotions in adaptive ways. To continue on from emotional intelligence, emotion to others, from an evolutionary standpoint, it has always been important to perceive emotions in those around you. Um, Especially in yourself, and this just ensures just interpersonal cooperation and recognizing others' emotions and forming responses to them is part of emotional intelligence. Emotion in the self, these emotions are expressed verbally through language. Um, it has been theorized that these who deal with alexithia, they have blocks of impulses from the right to left hemispheres of the brain, and that it's just a theory, but much communication and emotion is told through nonverbal channels like expressions, and appraising and expressing emotions accurately is part of emotional intelligence. To continue on from that, regulation of emotions. Regulation of emotion leads to more adaptive and reinforcing mood states. And the last one, utilizing emotional intelligence. Individuals differ in their ability to harness their own emotions in order to solve the problems. Certain moods can cause you to focus on different things. If your mood is positive or negative, those effects, it can have effects on planning events, expectations of your future, creative thinking, mood, etc. like that. For one of the articles, we also chose What is Emotional Intelligence by Kendra Cherry. She talks about the emotional intelligence and how it refers to the ability to perceive, control, and evaluate emotions. She also states that researchers have found that emotional intelligence can be learned or strengthened, but many others claim that it is inborn within. Um, there's also She also states that there are different assessments to measure the levels of emotional intelligence, and they usually fall into two types of tests: self-report and ability tests. Self-report is the most common type of test, and they're the easiest to administer and score, and they usually are statement-based questions and typically answered in the statement of disagree, somewhat disagree, agree, or strongly disagree, or strongly agree. Ability tests, these involves having the subject respond to situations and going over and assessing their skills. And then some of the tests require people to demonstrate their own abilities and then being rated or graded by a third party. To continue on from that, there are four different levels of emotional intelligence: emotional perception, the ability to reason using emotions, the ability to understand emotions, and the ability to manage emotions. Perceiving emotions, this involves understanding nonverbal signals such as body language and facial expressions. Reasoning with emotions, emotions help prioritize what we pay attention to and react to. We generally respond emotionally to things that capture our attention. And understanding emotions, the emotions we perceive can carry a wide variety of meanings and what they mean to us. So if someone is angry with us, we can interpret it in a way and what it can mean and why they are angry with us. Managing emotions, regulating emotions and responding to them accordingly, and responding to others' emotions are also all important aspects to managing emotion. And for the final article that we chose Emotional Quotient by Keith Beasley. He states that in this article, today's society, uh, in terms of judging a person, is by their emotional quotient or their sensitivity. And he states that their emotional quotient is to the heart and the IQ is more towards the brain, and people with higher EQs usually are most easily moved and need to openly express themselves and how they feel. But people with lower emotional quotients tend to be more soppy and they don't know how to really express themselves in certain settings.